Hello, 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 my beautiful people. It is officially 6 o'clock, and we are getting ready to have our very first cocktails with Chrystal L. I hope each and every one of you are having a fantastic Thursday. This is our first episode of Cocktails with Chrystal, but it will be on every single week. You get to hang out with me. So, if I don't know you and we have not hung out in these social media streets, my name is Chrystal L. I am spending most of my days behind my chair or educating stylists on how to create beautiful spaces where everyone feels like they belong. My goal in life is to give stylists the tools and resources and the confidence to serve all hair types and textures and create spaces where people feel like they belong. Now, you can't have cocktails with Chrystal without a cocktail. Yes. So, if you've hung out with me in real life, you know your girl only gets down with tequila. So, my cocktail for tonight is tequila and lemonade. Now, typically, I would literally just have tequila and a pineapple kickback, but that does not constitute as a cocktail. So, cheers to you and hanging out with me. Now, what can you expect from Cocktails with Chrystal? So, sometimes it'll be me, sometimes it'll be me and a guest, and sometimes I will have impromptu hot seats for people that hang out. No matter when you come or where you catch it, it's always going to be lit. So, today, I want to know if you're hanging out with me drinking, what is your drink of choice? Cheers, Lindsay and Jordan. And if you are not drinking and you have a cocktail recipe that includes tequila, please DM me or drop it in the chat so that I have a few more options. Now, when you come in, go ahead and say hello and then drop. Okay, Lindsay got some wine. And I know Lindsay has some red wine that is not sweet because I have got to hang out with your girl for a while. And I know her drink of choice when it comes to wine on a chilling day. So today's topic is you've been tricked. What am I talking about? I am talking about your beauty school experience. Now, I'm wearing a shirt about exactly like who I am. So when I actually put this shirt on today, I was literally just getting dressed to go pick up my kids. And then I was like, oh, I got to get cute for these social media streets. And then I looked down and my sweatshirt said, not judging, just observing. I was like, okay, universe, I hear you. I'm supposed to wear this shirt today. So shout out to Cecily who created this amazing shirt for me. So the whole point of Cocktails with Chrystal or hanging out in the All Hair Academy community is that I am observing, not judging. This is a place of no judgment. And today's topic, like I said, is you've been tricked. Now, one of the things that I always like to say is that I feel like we all did what we were supposed to do. We all went to beauty school. Depending on where you are, you did the hours you're supposed to do. You did the lessons that you were taught. You then went on to pass your state board. And then you went and found a space where you felt like you belonged. No shade at all. Now, I did not do traditional hair school. I did an apprenticeship where I had to do 3,000 hours. And I actually was lucky enough to have the opportunity to work with all hair types and textures. Now, when I started, I literally was like, I just want to do Black people hair that's not red or orange. I'm always going to keep it honest. So I was literally like, I grew up in St. Louis, came to Columbia. Every single person who looked like me typically had red or orange hair color. And I was like, I know that there is a way to be an ash blonde. And that is where I decided to put my efforts. And I became a colorist doing all hair types and textures, which allowed me to expand faster. However, 8 out of 10, so 80% of hairstylists go to cosmetology school and just learn the hair on their head. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a whole lot of money to be pigeonholed in a small amount of people that you get to serve. So it doesn't matter who you are or what side of the aisle that you are on, you have probably experienced the same thing. If that wasn't the case, I would love for you to DM me, and I would love to hear about like what your beauty school experience was like if you had the opportunity to work on all hair types and textures, just so that I can have, more perspective. I am all about perspective. One of the things people I hear all the time is that, that's what we learned in beauty school. That's what we're supposed to do. What am I supposed to do? So don't believe the hype that you can't work with all hair textures within your specialty. Once I dove into learning color, I realized very quickly that hair is hair. You diagnose the hair and go from there. And my whole apprenticeship, girl, I was blonde. I had a pixie and I was like ash blonde, and it was just beautiful. It was like all the things. So in doing that, that's what I've been able to give my clients over the years. But I want you to hear me when I say that you can be confident in working with all hair types. However, you cannot do that just by taking hands-on education classes. Did y'all hear me? I'm gonna take a sip for that one. Now, you cannot do that by just taking hands-on education classes. I don't care how many hands-on technical theory education classes that you take to do multiple hair textures. If you don't change your heart and your mind, your space is not going to be welcoming to people who aren't like you. Your space, you have to be very intentional about creating spaces where people feel like they belong. But you don't know what you don't know. And that is absolutely the reason why I created All Hair Academy and the Beauty Collective. So the Beauty Collective is a 12-month program aimed at cultivating, changing, and revolutionize the beauty industry to help future leaders and hairstylists talk about topics that may be uncomfortable when it comes to inclusion and when it comes to diversity, when it comes to creating spaces, brands where people feel like they belong. We cover 4 pillars, and it is no judgment. So that is the reason why I created the Beauty Collective, because if you want to really level up, if you want to be confident, if you want to have the tools and the resources and the techniques, you first have to change your heart and your mind. So you have to change your thinking and how you do things, because more often than not, you have probably created a space where people don't necessarily, not everybody, feel like they belong in your chair. Now, again, I'm from the Show Me State, and I've had so many people DM me to be like, okay, I hear you, I'm listening, but I don't know where to start. So for me, I believe that first you have to be intentional. And second, it starts within. And I feel like the best resource and the best and most successful way to do this is with yourself, inner self, right? It is like diving into it without judgment. It's just you and your ego, no outside influences. So because I got so many DMs, I was walking into so many salons and people were asking me like, okay, where do I start? I created a free assessment. So this assessment, you can click the link in the bio of my Instagram. If you're hanging out with me on Facebook, you can click the link in the comments. If you are hanging out with me on YouTube, you can also click the link in the description. So no matter where you are right now, you can take this free assessment. And ain't nobody gonna know but you. But it'll give you a clear questions that you can ask yourself about your space. And then it'll also give you some actionable items that you can do today to start creating spaces where people feel like they belong. Like, I don't know how many times I can say that it is a human right to feel like you belong in the space that you occupy. So I feel like as an industry that is extremely diverse, right? we can do a better job of creating spaces where people feel like they belong. And I also want to reiterate, this is not just about skin color. There are so many things that are about inclusivity that have nothing to do with our skin color. It has to do with our abilities. It has to do with our body size. It has to do with our interests. It has to do with if we have limits on how we occupy space, right? So it's way more than our skin type. And I talk about all these things if you hang out with me in the All Hair Academy community, which you can click the link in my bio to join. There are tons and tons of free resources and tools. And, like, why not? Like, you get to hang out with me. When we are here, I share all kinds of things within my systems in business. So it is everything you need. So I want to know from you all hanging out with me, what is one big thing that you feel like you missed in beauty school, right? Like, what's one thing that you were like, yep, they just missed the mark on that one. Now, I see my girl Tawana Dunn in the chat. Now, if you don't know Tawana is a part of the All Hair Academy community. She's a dear friend and one of my clients, and she is someone who does all hair types and textures within her specialty, which is extensions. And she has created a whole I think it's called the Hair Extension Bible, about everything you should have learned in cosmetology school when it comes to extensions. So if you are an extension specialist and you're like, am I leaving money on the table? Am I missing something? Tawana is your go-to. So make sure you give her a shout out and a follow because you will not regret it. So I see Tawana said extension applications. I also saw one of my girlfriends, Lindsay, on here, who I admire Lindsay so much. She is the founder of the Independent Beauty Pros. So if you're an Independent Beauty Pro and you are looking for a community, that is where you need to be. I am a member of it. But what I love about her most is that she was a stylist who didn't learn about texture. And she was in Chicago, which is a very diverse area. And she had the opportunity to dive into curly, coily, kinky hair. And she built a whole clientele around it and within the beauty industry of weddings to do just textured hair in weddings. Do you know that, like, I specialize in weddings as well, that most of the time when a bride has curly hair, they are asked to like blow it out in order to get the updo to create texture that is already there. Things that make you go, Anywho, so I just want to give a shout out to a couple of my friends who are hanging out with me. I also want to know, like, how many hours did your beauty school require? So for me, like I said, it was 1,200 hours in the state of Missouri, but I had to do 3,000. I want to know, how many did your state require? And have you invested in continued education? So one of my big things is that I truly believe that if we want to combat what we didn't learn in cosmetology school, that is going to be investing in some sort of continued education. If you were like me or in my area, beauty schools have no diversity when it came to the staff that were teaching. Last year, I probably had 5 or 6 students who were in cosmetology school who scheduled haircuts to hang out with me so they could learn more about textured hair when it came to curls, coils, and waves. I just feel like, you're paying somebody $17,000. That is something that, should be in there, but it's not. So how do we change it? We change it by, as educators, as hairstylists who own suites, as brands, as salon owners, that we require the culture of our spaces to be welcoming and inclusive to everybody. Now, this is the first Cocktails with Chrystal. I am talking about one of the most passionate things that I believe in, and that is inclusive spaces. And I would love your thoughts. Like, what do you think? What is a topic that you would love for me to discuss here on Cocktails with Chrystal? If you are an educator and you want to join me for a cocktail and or a mocktail, please, please, please feel free to DM me. Now, remember, My philosophy is that I am not judging, just observing, and this is a safe space. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to DM me and we can talk about it. Again, if you want to learn or get curious about how to create a more inclusive space, the first thing is intention. And I do believe the most successful way to do it is a self assessment. So you can click the link in my bio if you're hanging out with me on Instagram. You can click the link in my comments if you're hanging out with me in Facebook or YouTube. And there is a 100% free self assessment that you'll be able to decide if you're inclusive or not. And if you aren't inclusive, you're going to have some free resources to help you get there faster. And you can also remember, if you start hanging out with me in these social media streets, boo, you're going to be inclusive. You're going to get curious about being inclusive, and you're going to level up your business, your brand, your culture. You're going to be actually leveling up the world, right? Like, I mean, I'm going to go as deep as to say that. Like, you are actually going to be a part of the revolutionary change that our industry needs to create safe and inclusive spaces. So, I wanted to keep this to 15 minutes or less, and it is now 6:16. So, thank you so much for tuning in to the first session of Cocktails with Chrystal. I am so happy that each and every one of you were hanging out with me. I would love your favorite cocktail recipe. And if you are an educator who wants to hang out with me, please, please, please DM me and let's talk about it. And if you take, or when you take, the free self-assessment, DM me. Let me know your results. I would love to dive deeper into what we can do so that you and every single person that walks into your space feels like they belong. And Mary, this is for anybody in the beauty industry. I coach people who are in spas, estheticians, makeup artists, hairstylists, educators, corporate brands. Like, this is a whole full circle mission. This is not just hairstylists. If we want our beauty industry to be inclusive and welcoming, it has to be a full effort on every single level. No matter where you are in your success journey, inclusivity is a must. So, thank you so much for hanging out with me in these social media streets. I remember when I first started this journey, and I just did not want to be the person doing this, but I know this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where you're supposed to be today. If you're listening to this right now, this is where you're supposed to be. This is your time to be intentional and take action. Remember, every day is a new opportunity to slay. Peace, and I will see you in these social media streets.